database concurrently. So this is made possible by the concurrency control and recovery subsystems of a DBMS to provide up-to-date information. The availability of this up-to-date information is essential for transaction processing applications. Now, transaction processing applications include such as reservation systems or banking databases, railway reservation systems, airline reservation systems, where concurrently many users are accessing the database. Flexibility. Modern DBMSs allow certain types of evolutionary changes to the structure of the database without affecting the stored data and existing application programs. So again, modern DBMSs, they provide a feature of flexibility, means if in any case we have to make changes in the structure of the database, then the already stored data doesn't need to be changed, or the already existing application programs need not to be changed. Economies of scale. The DBMS approach permits consolidation of data and applications, thus reduces the amount of wasteful overlap between activities of data processing personnel in different projects or departments. That means economies of scale means that using DBMS approach, the data and applications are consolidated. That means there is no overlap between the activities of data processing personnel which is located in different projects or departments. This enables the whole organization to invest in more powerful processors, storage devices, or communication devices, rather than having each department purchase its own separate equipment for this same purpose. So this duplication, because there is no duplication of effort in any case in implementing the powerful processors, storage devices, or communication gear, because everything is centralized, data is centralized. So this reduces the overall cost of operation and management of the database. In addition to these advantages provided by the database system, there are some risks, or you can say some situations where database system is not desirable. For example, high cost. Installing new database system may require investment in hardware and software. The DBMS requires more main memory and disk storage. Moreover, DBMS is quite expensive, therefore a company needs to consider the overhead cost of implementing a new database system. So where cost is the critical you can say consideration, we have to consider the cost. We can't put so much expensive software or so much expensive hardware. In those situations or those enterprises, DBMS is not desirable, database system is not desirable. Training new personnel. When an organization plans to adopt a database system, it may need to recruit or hire a specialized data administration group, which can coordinate with different user groups for designing views, establishing recovery procedures, fine-tuning data structures to meet the organization requirements. Hiring such professionals is expensive. So next risk, or you can say disadvantage, is overhead for providing security from unauthorized access or malicious access, concurrency control, recovery and integrity functions. System failure. When a computer system containing the database fails, all users have to wait until the system is functional again. Moreover, if DBMS or application program fails, a permanent damage may occur to the database. So in case system fails, or in case DBMS or application program fails, a permanent damage or a serious damage may occur to the database, and users have to wait until the system is functional again. So due to these numerous advantages of database system, today various application areas of database system include airlines and railways, Airlines and railways use online databases for reservation and for displaying the schedule information. Banking, which is very commonly used, and we are all of us are uh, come into contact with the banking database in our daily life. Banks use databases for customer inquiry, for storing the accounts of the customers, for loans and other transactions. Next is education. Schools and colleges use databases for storing the information regarding course registration, for displaying result and other information. Telecommunications. Telecommunication departments use databases to store information about the communication network, telephone numbers, record of calls, or for generating monthly bills. Credit card transactions. Databases are used for keeping track of purchases on credit cards in order to generate monthly statements. Next is e-commerce, which is electronic commerce. That means selling or buying of goods electronically or through internet. Integration of heterogeneous information sources, for example, catalogs for business activity such as online shopping, booking of holiday packages, consulting a doctor. So all these are applications of database systems. Healthcare information systems and electronic patient records. Databases are used for maintaining the patient healthcare details. Next is digital libraries and digital publishing. Databases are used for management and delivery of large bodies of textual as well as multimedia data. Finance. Databases are used for storing information such as sales, purchases of stocks, bonds, or data useful for online trading. Next is sales. Databases are used to store product, customer, and transaction details. Human resources. Organizations use the database systems for storing information about their employees, about their salaries, about their benefits, taxes, and for generating the salary checks and generating other reports related to their employees or customers. So the various users or the people who interact with database system, they can be broadly classified into two categories. One is actors on the scene, people whose job is day-to-day use of large database, and workers behind the scene, those people who work to maintain the database system environment but who are not actively interested in the database itself. So actors on the scene, they include database administrator, database designers, end users, system analysts, application programmers. Let's discuss these users one by one. Database administrator. It's a person who has central control over both data and application programs. That means who control the overall database management system. He is responsible for administering the primary resources, which is database, and the secondary resources, which are DBMS and related software. He is also responsible for authorizing the access to the database, for coordinating and monitoring the use of database, and for acquiring software and hardware resources as needed. He is also responsible for establishing and monitoring the security of the database system. It involves adding and removing users, auditing and checking for security problems. So the main monitoring of the security of the system involves whether the users who try to use the database, are they authorized, and if they are authorized, whether to grant them access or to provide those users particular authorizations. Means the user can only retrieve the data, or the user can only update the data, or user can delete the data or not. He is also responsible for analyzing the data stored in the database and studying its performance and efficiency in order to effectively use indexes, parallel query execution, etc. Next, responsibility of DBA is preliminary database design. DBA works along with the development team during the database design stage, due to which many potential problems that can arise later can be avoided. Physical organization modification. DBA is responsible for carrying out the modification in the physical organization of the database for better performance. Routine maintenance checks. The DBA is responsible for taking the database backup periodically in order to recover from any hardware or software failure if occurs. That means in case of any failure, whether it is in hardware or in software, it's the responsibility of the DBA to take the backup of the database periodically in order to recover from such failures. Other routine maintenance checks that are carried out by the DBA, they are checking data storage and ensuring the availability of free disk space for normal operations, upgrading the disk space as and when required. Second type of actors on the scene is database designers. They are responsible for identifying the data to be stored in the database and for choosing the appropriate structures to represent and store this data by communicating with all the prospective database users and understanding their requirements. That means they deal with or they interact with the users and understand their requirements, and according to those requirements they identify the data to be stored in the database as well as the structures which will be used to represent that data. These tasks are mostly undertaken before the database is actually implemented and populated with data. Next category is end users, those who interact with the database in order to query and update the database and generate reports. These users are further classified into categories like casual end users, parametric or naive end users, sophisticated end users, and standalone end users. Casual end users occasionally access the database, but they may need different information each time. They use a sophisticated database query language to specify their requests. They are typically middle or high level managers or other occasional browsers. Naive or parametric end users are those whose main job function revolves around constantly querying and updating the database using standard types of queries and updates. The users who query and update the database by invoking some already written application programs. For example, owner of a bookstore enters the details of various books in the database by invoking application programs. So the naive user interacts with the database using form interface. Bank tellers who check the account balance and post withdrawals and deposits. Railway reservation or airline reservation clerks who check availability for a given request and make reservations. Sophisticated end users include engineers, scientists, business analysts who thoroughly familiarize themselves with the facilities provided by a DBMS so as to implement their own applications to meet their complex requirements. They interact with the system without writing any application programs. They use database query language to retrieve information from the database to retrieve their complicated requirements. Next is the standalone users. They maintain personal databases by using ready-made program packages that provide easy-to-use menu-based or graphical user interface-based interfaces. For example, user of a text package that stores a variety of personal financial data for text purposes, that is a standalone user because he is using a software package, database package for his own purpose. System analysts, they determine the requirements of the database users, especially parametric users, to create a solution for their business need and focus on non-technical and technical aspects. Non-technical aspects may involve defining the system requirements, facilitating interaction between business users and technical staff. Technical aspects involve developing the specifications for user interface or application programs. Then application programmers, they develop application programs to facilitate easy data access for the database users. They are computer professionals and who implement the specifications given by the system analyst and develop the application programs. They can choose tools such as rapid application development tools to develop the application programs with minimal effort. Next category is workers behind the scene. They include DBMS system designers and implementers who design and implement the DBMS modules and interfaces as a software package. Tool developers who design and implement tools which are software packages that facilitate the database system design and that help in improving their performance. These tools are optional packages. Operators and maintenance personnel, the persons who are responsible for actual running and maintenance of the hardware and software environment for the database system. So these were all the users of the database system, whether they are actors on the scene or whether they are workers behind the scene. So this was the topic about introduction to databases.